Hi guys, welcome back, and in this video I will show you how you can use ZIG indicator in MQL5. So using zigzags or zigzag indicator in your softwares is more challenging than any other built-in indicators because it's not that simple to import the indicator into your software. And that's exactly what I will show you. So I'm here in my MT5 editor. As you can see, here is my YouTube folder, and I will create a new custom indicator, but this also works for the expert advisor, so you can use this this tutorial for both. But I will create custom indicator right now called ZAG example. I will call it this way, and then let's move on to the parameters. So if you know about zigzag, you know that it has to take 3 additional parameters. So I will create these 3 inputs. The first one is depth, and that's the type of, or I will do all of these. I will do the type of double, or no, integer. So depth, the initial value that you use with zigzag is 12. Then you use something called deviation, also of type of an integer, which its initial value is set to 5. And then you have something called backstep, which is set to 3 as the initial value. So this is all we need for now, and as we progress in this tutorial I will add more inputs, but this is okay for now. Okay, so we want to use onCalculate function, and on timer we don't have to use it, but I will leave it like this. And we won't need any plots, so I will click on finish. So this is how our script looks like so far. So the process of importing the zigzag is not the same as for example importing RSI, because with RSI all you have to do is to create a handle and then assign this RSI function to the handle, and you have your RSI indicator. But this is not the case with zigzag. So the first thing you have to do is to import zigzag as a resource into your script. So you do it like this. You type a resource, and then you have to use quotation marks and type the path to the zigzag indicator, which may differ in your terminals, so you have to find your path for yourself. But in my case, and I would say in the majority of cases at all, it will be this path. So you type indicators, then examples, and then you can type zigzag.ex5. So you are like calling the script, the ex5 file. And if you compile, you have to compile without any errors. If I, for example, just paste here example instead of examples and I try to compile, you can see that it can't find the resource file, and therefore I can't use the zigzag indicator. So you have to really get this path right. So that's the first step. The second step is, of course, creating a handle, as we do for any other indicator. So let's create type of integer. Let's call it ZZ, that stands for zigzag underscore handle, and we can leave it like this. So this is great. And then we move on to this onInit function, where we assign a value to the zigzag handle. So ZZ handle is equal to, and here is the second challenging part. So we are calling iCustom function, which is used for any custom indicator you might create it and now you want to use in your code, but it's also used for the ZIG indicator. So that's what we have to call. And now you can see that we have to pass some parameters. So the first one is the symbol name. We are using it for the current symbol. Second one is also is period, so period current. And now we have to parse like the path to the indicator once again, but this time at the beginning of the path you want to type you want to start like this. So indicators and then you just continue like with the resource up there .ex5. So this is your name of the indicator, and then you can see that like there are 3 dots after this indicator name, and that means that we have to pass all of the other parameters that our indicator requires. And in this case it's our depth, deviation and backstep parameters. So now if I compile this, I am not receiving any errors. Once again, if I, for example, just call this path or type in this path indicator and I compile it, okay, there's also not an error, but I think if I run this, there won't be an zigzag indicator. So I will leave it like this, but I can check it later. Okay, so this is the main part. Now the second part is how you can get zigzag values, because also it's not that simple. You need to build a function for retrieving zigzag values, or you don't have to use a function, but it's much better to use it. So that's exactly what I will do right now. So what I will create is create a new function called collecting ZZ, so zigzag values, and yeah, here is the body of the function. So right now it's time to create 2 more input variables. So the first variable, or only one variable, sorry, yeah, only one additional variable. So I will go up here to my variables part of the code, and I will create the last variable, input variable called collect values, let's say. So this is like how many values we want to work with or to collect, and then we can work with them. So in this case, let's put it to 40, but we can change it later. And now we have to create some arrays for storing the values. So let's create those arrays. So the first one is of the type double, which is going to be called zigzag values, and the second one is going to be of type date time, because for each zigzag value that we get, we want also to store the date time of that zigzag value. So zz times, and then in init function we just want to resize the arrays so they have the correct size, so values, and we want to resize them to the collect values value. Reserve size is set to 0, and the same thing for zigzag times, collect values, and 0 as well. And now we are prepared to code this function for retrieving the zigzag values. Now this is also for if you are new to MQL5, this is going to be a little bit difficult for you to think about, but once you know the structure, or once you know how the zigzag indicator behaves, it's not that difficult anymore. So in order to obtain our values, we have to create a while loop, because yeah, I will tell you because why later. So while here will be our condition, and until our condition is not met, we want to run this while loop. And now we want to create our condition, so I will create our integer variable called collected values. So this is like how many values we have already found, and then our condition is until collected values is lower than collect values. So while we haven't found all of the values we wanted to, we will run this loop. And now I just have to create two more variables. So the first one is I, which is going to be just like a variable used for keeping a track of how many iterations we had gone through. So let's set that to 0 initially, or to 1. We want to set it to 1. That's very important, and I will tell you why later. And the second thing what we want to do is to create our ZIG array, because if you know how you get values from the indicators, is that you call copy buffer function, and then you need an array in which you are going to store the values. So that's why we create this ZIG array. And now we can continue. So on each iteration we want to call this copy buffer function with our ZIG handle. Buffer number is equal to 0, and now the starting position will be equal to the I variable that I have created right here, because now we are like looping back with the indicator values, and we are searching for the correct ones, because yeah, I will show you what happens. So if I get my chart in here, and I, for example, so I will just, so here is my ZIG, and you can see these lines, okay? But if we focus on, for example, this line right here, you can see that, okay, I will also, the data window, yeah, so here it is. So here focus on this ZIG data window, which shows you the values for the ZIG. So if I go to this peak, you can see that we have our value of 0.65 and so on. But then if I go one candlestick back, you can see that there's no value, and there's no value also in here, or here, here, here. But if I go to this peak as well, then you can see that there's value. And we want only to obtain these values, and if we loop through all of these candlesticks, we will receive 0 on these ones and not 0 on the peaks and the bottoms. So that's why we are looping back through all of the candlesticks, and we are searching for values that are that differ from 0. So that's why we are creating this this while loop. So we want to store one value at a time, and then we want to save it to ZIG array that we have created. And then what we want to do is to check the value that we have obtained. So if ZIG array at position 0, so this is our ZIG value, differs from 0.0, in that case we found either the bottom or peak, So yeah. And if this happens, then we want to do something like this. So once we found either bottom or peak, we want to store these values into our zigzag values arrays and time arrays. So here I will pass this, and I will assign this to zigzag array at position 0, and then I want to also store the time. So times of collected values is equal, and now pay attention, because now we are not using like any of, or we are using this I variable to shift back to the time of the occurrence of the zigzag value. So that's how we get the values. And of course, then we have to increase our collected values variable by 1. So that's our function. So now I will go back to this on calculate function, and I will call the collecting zigzag values. So now if I run the script, this is the first function that will run, and then we are done. Then you have your values in the array, and then you can do whatever you want with those. So yeah, that's it. And just to prove that this works, I will recreate the zigzag so you can see the peaks and the bottoms that we are retrieving. So I will create a for loop. So for integer I is equal to 0, integer I is lower than collect values, and I plus plus. I will object delete, so first delete I, and then object create 0, object arrow up, and now sub window is 0, and now time. So I will get the times from our or I will get a time from our zigzag times array, and value is zigzag values I. So if I compile this and then I go back, for example here, so this, you can see that this is the chart with the zigzag, and I just need to find, so navigator, indicators, zigzag, sorry, this is not it, zigzag example right here. So if I paste it here, okay, one more time, so zigzag example, I paste it here, and you can see that there's some issue with this. So just 1 second, I will check the code right here. Great. Collected values is set to 0. Yeah, I know where the issue is, and the issue is right here, because as you can see, we didn't increase the I value, so we are still looping through that one position. So now if I change this, you can see that this is the correct approach. And just to prove it to you, so this is like these arrows represents points at time that we got our zigzag values. So if I do this, you can see that it's perfect, it's the same as the zigzag indicator. Yeah, so that's it. What you can also do is that you can go here and sorry, not here, and you can change it, for example, to 40, and you want 100 values. So if you change it like this, you can see that you receive different but you can see it with this. You can see that you receive different points at time. Okay, so this is it. And then when you want to work with the ZIG indicator, like with its values, you just have to access them through the arrays that we have created, and you can do whatever you like with it. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.